Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining the Accessing Central America, Exporting Western U.S. Snack Foods. I'm Chloe Mesh, Director of Programs at WUSADA, the Western United States Agricultural Trade Association. I wanted to go over a few housekeeping notes before we begin this webinar. This webinar will be recorded today, and we will be emailing you the recording within the next few days. You'll remain muted during the presentation, but please submit any questions anytime throughout the Q&A feature. We'll address your questions during our dedicated Q&A session at the end and follow up by email on any that we don't cover live. If you would like to say your question out loud, there will be an opportunity for you to use the Request a Live Call-in button, where you can raise your hand and enter the queue to ask your question live. I'm pleased to introduce Scott Somerville from Bryant Christie, who will be presenting on today's webinar. We'll cover the essential steps to successfully export your products to this growing region, from navigating regulatory requirements and tariff structures to understanding consumer preferences and distribution channels. You'll learn how to adapt your products for tropical climates, meet country-specific and compliance standards. So this webinar is perfect for companies ready to tap into Central America's expanding modern retail sector, growing middle class, and increasing demand for both traditional and better-for-you snack options. Now let's dive in, and Scott, over to you.
Thank you, Chloe. Yes, as Chloe says, my name is Scott Somerville and I'm a Market Development Manager at Bryant Christie. I'm originally from Scotland, hence the accent. And it's my pleasure to be presenting to you today on the topic of exporting Western US snack foods to Central America. I think the main messages that I want to get across in this presentation are that Central America offers a growing opportunity for US snack food sales, and that success in the region really depends on understanding country differences and meeting the local labelling and registration requirements. My colleagues and I have prepared these slides covering 6 topics with the aim of building on the preceding topics to provide details of the market and a practical guide to the Central American market. As is the case with all the presentations in this WUSATA seminar series, these slides will be available to you for reference. So some slides I might summarise and others I'll go into more detail on, starting with a market overview. So Central America's snack sector has expanded steadily over the past decade with about an average of 3.2% annual growth in the quantity of snacks purchased. This consistent growth includes widening product adoption in many snack categories. There was a slight dip in the quantity purchased during the pandemic, but it really was very small, which really demonstrates to me that consumers, even though they were at home and maybe had more time to spend preparing meals, were still choosing to purchase snack foods. So it appears to be a food category that consumers in the region really have a taste for. So snack demand is rising in line with urbanisation and rising incomes, and as people's daily routines become more mobile. Many purchases occur on the go, making convenience a characteristic that's in high demand. Younger urban consumers drive this early adoption in several product categories and are demonstrating repeat buying patterns. These evolving tastes support both traditional snacks and healthier and more premium options, including novel flavours. So urban lifestyles and longer hours spent away from home have increased demand for portable snacks. Many sales come from spur-of-the-moment impulse purchases in high foot traffic stores like supermarkets, convenience stores, and gas stations. Single serve and resealable formats fit well within these habits, and exporters benefit when packaging aligns with on-the-go behaviour. The core consumer for packaged snacks are younger adults in cities who buy frequently and respond well to new products. Urban households with moderate incomes also contribute significantly to the demand. Buying decisions centre on brand familiarity, value, and convenience. Understanding these drivers will help you tailor your product offering and messaging for the market. Growth is occurring across salty, sweet, and better for you and novelty snack segments. Functional and clean label attributes are becoming more important, along with premium and novelty flavours. This mix of categories creates opportunities for mainstream and highly differentiated products. And it's particularly among those high income urban consumers who are driving the demand for novelty and unique experiences. So migration patterns between the US and Central America are increasingly shaping snack preferences. People who have spent time in the United States are often seeking US styles, flavors, and brands when they're living in Central America. This behavior increases demand for American style, salty, and sweet items. And it creates a built-in consumer base for US exporters. So we're going to move on to country-specific details covering Costa Rica, Panama, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, and Nicaragua, starting with Costa Rica. So Costa Rica functions as a premium-orientated market within the region where consumers expect high product quality and often pay 15 to 30% premium for high quality, health focused snacks, a demand characteristic that might not be applicable in other Central American markets. Modern retail is well developed in Costa Rica and supports a wide range of imported products. This makes Costa Rica well suited for launching high value SKUs, especially when distributed through modern retail, including boutique stores and online platforms. With respect to Panama, this country serves as a consumer market and a logistics gateway. Its infrastructure and free trade zones make it an attractive market for regional distribution. It's also a tourist-heavy area, or contains tourist-heavy areas that drive additional premium snack demand. And exporters can use Panama to test products and reach neighbouring markets efficiently. In fact, many international retailers and distributors have regional headquarters based in Panama. So it really is a market that's worth exploring in more detail to get products in front of key decision makers. And even if you don't want to be selling in Panama necessarily, you might find it's a country you want to travel to meet these key decision makers. So Guatemala offers scale due to its large population of about 18 million people. But here success requires products that work in both supermarkets and traditional retail channels. Price sensitivity makes smaller pack sizes important, and meeting the health registration requirements is mandatory, ensures reliable access to modern retail. Okay, covering Honduras, El Salvador, and Nicaragua together. These markets require strong attention to price and pack size. Modern retail is expanding in these countries, but traditional channels remain important. Infrastructure limits. There are limits to the extent of modern distribution infrastructure, with success often hinging on the reliability of local distributors. From experience, exporters succeed in these countries by offering low-cost SKUs, but there is a market for selective premium items too. So when it comes to regulatory differences between these markets, it's important to note that each country has its own unique set of labelling, registration, requirements and import approval processes. And the timelines to achieving these compliance measures vary significantly from market to market. Customs clearance times differ, as I say, with some ports having modern scanning and inspection systems in place, while others may experience delays due to their limited infrastructure. Local distributors also vary in their reliability and local coverage and distribution networks. So identifying partners with strong networks is crucial to your success. To mitigate risk, it's important to take an early look at the regulatory consultations for selective port use and distributor vetting to help reduce delays and spoilage that comes with those delays. So this is a slide on the Central America and Dominican Republic Free Trades Agreement, of which the United States is a member. Many snack products qualify for low or zero tariff under this agreement, with some items still facing duties depending on their classification. So accurate HS coding prevents surprises during customs clearances. Getting the documentation straightened out before you ship product prevents delays and unexpected costs. And tariff planning can improve pricing strategies and competitiveness once the product is in the market. Was there anything else I wanted to pick out here? No, I think that's the main summary of this slide. Moving on to labelling requirements. There are mandatory listings across all the countries in the region with respect to ingredients, allergens and additives. And there are also language requirements, with the labelling having to be in Spanish in most cases. There's a requirement for nutritional panels that meet local regulations, including energy and macronutrients, with some countries requiring standardized serving sizes on the labelling. There must be a clear display of a best before or expiration date and proper storage guidance. This is critical for the tropical climate. And lastly, as I say, labels must be in Spanish or a local dialect might be considered, and pre-approval with health authorities is necessary before import. Registration. So there are mandatory product registration requirements. All processed snack products must be registered with the respective country's health authority prior to sale, and those documentation requirements typically include the ingredient lists and the nutritional information, certifications, country of origin, and labelling samples. Approval can take months, depending on the country. So pre-submission review and local agent support can help shorten those timelines. Unregistered products risk seizure and fines, so continuous monitoring of regulatory updates is critical for market access, and this is an area where local guidance can really help. Exporters really want to consider the shelf life and packaging for sale in this tropical climate. High temperatures and humidity reduce the product stability, so careful formulation and preservatives are required or are essential for maintaining quality. Some of the packaging material considerations are moisture resistant UV protective films, laminated pouches, resealable packs. These are all things you want to consider for distribution across the region. With respect to portion control, single serve or small pack SKUs reduce spoilage, improve portability, and align with that impulse buying behaviour I was describing earlier. And you want to consider temperature controlled storage, insulated containers, and modified atmosphere packaging for products that are liable to degradation in this environment. But things like temperature controlled storage really depends on what is available to the distributors you're using and the local market conditions. So accurate documentation is essential for smooth importation. Core items include invoicing and packaging lists and origin certificates. Some products require additional health or phytosanitary documentation, and preparing these materials in advance prevents delays. So many exporters will start by shipping samples, and this isn't without its own set of hurdles. Even sample shipments must comply with relevant regulations, and authorities often require basic documents and adequate packaging for those samples. So ensuring clear labels and proper certification speeds this clearance process up. Well-planned samples help support product trials, including in-store sampling and early distribution engagement. So plan sample shipments well in advance of events to shorten these lead times, ensuring the product gets there on time and reduce costs. So at this point, we've discussed some considerations regarding demographics and target markets, and discussed regulatory requirements for product shipments. But we're now moving on to discuss some of the logistics and shipping considerations. Exporters should decide between full containers for efficiency and cost, or consolidated shipments for flexibility. Full containers are best for large volume shipments as they come at a lower cost per unit. They also importantly reduce handling risks because you have more control over the entire shipment. On the other hand, less than container loads or consolidated loads are ideal for the smaller volumes. Maybe you're wanting to test these market shipments, and then this would be the size of shipment that would be appropriate for you because of the lower volumes, but it does come with higher costs and increased risk. Some other considerations are to evaluate transit time and port handling efficiency, customs clearances, and warehouse availability when deciding between the two shipment sizes. Consider market size, demand, forecasts, cash flow, and product sensitivity. A combination of strategies can reduce the cost and improve the flexibility and supply reliability. So regional hubs allow exporters to serve multiple markets from a central point. This supports efficient stock management and shorter lead times. and consolidation reduces freight and handling costs. Some of these hubs exist in Panama, Costa Rica, and Guatemala, and enable this efficient redistribution around the region. Centralized warehouses allow for bulk storage and optimized stock rotation and faster replenishment for the target market. Consolidated shipments to regional hubs lower the costs, minimize handling, and reduce the risk of spoilage. Selecting experienced third-party logistics providers ensures compliance, timely delivery, and effective last-mile distribution. So when working with customs brokers, you'll find that the brokers facilitate compliance with import regulations and tariffs and documentation submission, and really help reduce delays at ports. Local agents provide guidance on distributor selection, market-specific labelling, and registration processes, ensuring smooth market entry. Brokers can help mitigate risk and avoid fines, shipment rejections, and product detentions due to non-compliance. Early engagement with a broker and engaging in clear communication helps be proactive and helps solve problems proactively, I should say, and improve the supply chain efficiency. Okay, so freight costs. When optimizing your freight costs, compare shipping models. For example, sea, air, and then the container size, and consolidate shipments to reduce per unit costs. Identify potential bottlenecks at ports ahead of time and maintain buffer stocks in the market to mitigate delays. Choose reliable carriers with proven service in the region and optimize routes to minimize transit times and exposure to high humidity. Delays in this environment with high humidity and temperature and sometimes unreliable cold storage networks can lead to product spoilage. It's a real key consideration. And lastly, use tracking systems to monitor the delivery performance and freight spend throughout the supply chain to identify any weaknesses in the contractors used. Retail and e-commerce. Supermarkets are expanding across the region. There's new entrants all the time, and also expansion of American retailers across the region, particularly Walmart and others, but particularly in urban centres. And along with that comes expansion of that cold storage. So this is good news for US exporters. Premium and better for you snacks benefit from prominent placement in supermarkets, including on end caps, and they allow for easier in-store promotions to help drive sales. And shoppers in modern supermarkets are brand conscious. They're responsive to US snack trends and receptive to clean label and health-focused products. Lastly, modern supermarkets integrate loyalty programs, e-commerce platforms, and in-store marketing, providing plenty of opportunities for promotions and consumer engagement. So convenience stores and gas stations are key points for these impulse snack purchases, especially single-serve sizes and on-the-go formats that are in keeping with these characteristics that consumers are increasingly demanding in their food products. Small pack sizes and resealable packaging and popular flavour profiles drive higher turnover and repeat sales in these channels. And urban centres and tourist-heavy areas often offer high foot traffic and increased visibility. There is still a role for traditional trade. Well, more than that, it's traditional trade is still a large share of food spending across the region. So, and that's true in rural and semi-urban areas, and provides access to price-sensitive and lower-income consumers not served by modern retail. Traditional channels are stocked by frequent small deliveries, and products must be adapted to those local demand patterns and storage limitations, because traditional channels don't have access to this reliable cold chain. Strong relationships with local shop owners and distributors are critical for shelf space allocations and timely replenishment. Okay. There is emergence of e-commerce and delivery apps across the region, with online grocery store sales expanding, particularly in urban centres driven by smartphone adoption and demand for convenience, as an increasing share of households are in full employment. Shoppers increasingly purchase premium and better for you and novelty snacks through these apps, seeking this convenience and variety. Partnerships with local delivery apps and e-commerce marketplaces enable a wider reach to target your promotions. Digital channels provide data on consumer preferences, purchase frequency, and geographic trends, which will help you inform product positioning and promotional strategies. And it's that positioning that we're going on to talk about next. So consumers favour flavours aligned with regional tastes, particularly savoury, spicy, and tropical fruit flavours. And US products may require minor flavour adaptations. Novel flavour combinations and limited edition offerings can attract trial customers, especially those young and urban consumers. Conduct in-market taste tests to refine this seasoning, particularly sweetness and texture, for local tastes and preferences. So align flavour adaptations with product category while maintaining brand identity to differentiate from local competitors. And that is the last slide in the presentation, Chloe.
Great. Thank you so much, Scott. Does anybody have any questions? I'll give it a few minutes here. No questions. Let's move on to the next slide, please, Scott. Great, thank you. So we wanted to talk about some upcoming WUSADA events. So right now we have registration opened for the ONTAD trade show, which we have a WUSADA pavilion at, and the registration closes on February 20th. And then we have next week a outbound trade mission to Mexico. And that kind of rounds out for 2025. But for 2026, we have the ONTAD trade show, and that is live on our website. Well, following today's webinar, you'll receive a brief survey. Your feedback is very crucial, and it helps us improve and secure continued funding for these programs. So we greatly appreciate you taking a moment to complete it. We also offer free consultation opportunities. So Bryant Christie, they offer complimentary 30-minute consults. So if you want to talk about your specific export needs or any questions you have in particular about this webinar or even past webinars, please feel free to sign up, and I'll make sure to include that in the follow-up email. But I just wanted to say thank you for joining us today, and thank you, Scott, so much for your insight and presentation today about Central America. And again, we'll send a follow-up email with the recording and additional resources. Have a great day, everyone, and we look forward to supporting your export journey. Thanks so much.